Hi, this is Todd Blankenbecler with EasyRx. In this podcast, you're going to hear Dean and I talk about efficiencies and how to adapt to change to make your practice better.
OrthoMarketing.com, 360-degree digital marketing solutions for your practice.
Hello, everybody out there in podcast land. This is Dean Steinman from Ortho Marketing. And guess what? We are back with another podcast for you. It's right now November 2023. It's been a pretty crazy year. And obviously, hopefully you guys had a good year and survived. Make a good push towards the end of the year to get your business going, to get more patients come in and to adapting to new technologies. And speaking of new technologies and new opportunities, I'm very excited to have with me great guest. I've got Todd Blankenbecler, and Todd is with a company called EasyRx. And we're here to talk a little bit today about trends in orthodontics, improving your efficiencies, and figuring out how to make your practice smarter and better. So, Todd, how are you doing today?
I'm good, Dean. Very good. Thank you for having me on your podcast. I'm very excited.
My pleasure. Thanks so much for joining. So, you and I have been chatting for a bit and talking, and I'm really excited to have you on. So, before we jump into it, tell me, Todd Blankenbecler, who is Todd B?
Who is Todd B? Well, yeah, not surprising. My nickname growing up was TB.
Well, okay.
Because not a whole lot of people could say my last name, I think, growing up. But, what is Todd Blankenbecler? Well, specific to this call, my first job out of college was working for a orthodontic practice management software company named OPMS.
Okay.
And so all I've done my career is work in the orthodontic software space.
Okay.
So I'm an ortho software guy.
All right.
Is a little bit about Todd.
And boy, the times they are a-changing, huh? As Bob Dylan says.
Times they are a-changing.
Yep. I mean, I'm in marketing the same way. When I first started marketing, it was the yellow pages. There was also a thing as Google, and this is the thing about the social media, the internet. So let me just kind of jump right in. So what has been, in your definition, the biggest change in the ortho software world?
Oh my gosh. What has been the biggest change in the ortho software world? There's so many, but, probably, I guess I would say how we, the migration away from everything being installed at the practice to delivering software via, quote, the cloud via browser-based,
right,
which opens up, flexibility, cost savings, faster delivery, multi-access, multi-location, that kind of thing. Where we are in the really earliest stages of AI and what AI could do is probably the next big change. But back to your first comment, question, if you think, kind of the core software of a practice is their practice management, and practice management software is practice management software, but now instead of running it on, installing servers at the practice and installing software on PCs, now it's running in a browser. And right, fundamentally, it's still the same software, but it's running in a browser.
It's amazing how many practices are still PC based for their software. It really is. I'm blown away. I was at a practice just yesterday in person, and I was like, "What? Can I get access to your cloud so I can take a look at your scheduling module?" And they're like, "It's computer based." I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
Computer based. Yeah. Hopefully, you're not running DOS on it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's amazing that people are still not adapting.
I bet 80% of the practices still have software installed on computers at the practice.
Well, to some sort, yeah, which is mind blowing. You mentioned a minute ago AI. So it's November 2023 now. how quickly time flies or doesn't fly is ChatGPT came out November 2022. It's only been a year.
It's only been a year.
And it seems like it's been around forever, right? Doesn't it? It's amazing how quickly AI has adapted, to the world. It's going to be bigger than the internet. I remember when I first started building websites, in marketing, people are like, I don't need one of those website things. That's a fad, blah, 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 blah. Now people are like, I don't need that AI stuff, but wrong. It's, working smarter. So, let's talk a little bit about, current trends and AI. What do you see has been the biggest adaptation in orthodontics to AI? And also, flip side, what's the hardest adaptation to bringing AI into the orthodontic world?
Well, I guess I think where we are with AI, and to your point, ChatGPT being a year old and large language models and what have you, I think we're still, it's early enough where we're still trying to figure out, how do we really benefit from implementing AI? And so we're still fairly early in that. You're seeing it, remote monitoring services have AI built in to do remote treatment monitoring, dental monitoring being a leader in that space.
Right.
You're seeing it with companies like Overjet that will can read an X-ray and diagnose a case through AI software. And so we're really just now starting to implement it, and which is sort of the same answer to both. The biggest benefit is now we can implement AI software to make our practice more efficient, faster, stronger, all that, which at the same time is the biggest challenge. And that is, what is the right AI software to implement, or the right technologies that have AI software, and what is the real benefit, and what's the cost value prop there?
Right.
So I think that's where we are with AI. We're really just trying to figure it out right now. It's easy to say it's easy for companies to say we have AI built in. We got to figure out what's the real benefit.
This podcast is sponsored by OrthoMarketing.com. Hey, you an orthodontist or dentist looking to give your practice the competitive edge it deserves? Well, look no further than Ortho Marketing. Ortho Marketing is the dentist and orthodontist choice for digital marketing. At Ortho Marketing, we specialize in helping orthodontists and dentists just like you attract more new patients. Our team of experts knows the ins and outs of the dental and orthodontic industry, and we're here to help your practice shine. We're going to supercharge your online presence. We're going to optimize your website. We're going to harness the power of social media to connect you with the patients that you want. Say goodbye to empty chairs and say hello to a thriving practice. Choose Ortho Marketing today and watch your patient list grow. Visit orthomarketing.com and learn more and take the first steps towards your practice success. Ortho Marketing. It's not just our name, it's what we do.
Right. And making more efficient. In my eyes, it's always about being smarter and better in automation. That is in the marketing world, automation is my buzz point now, my main issue. Because when it comes to marketing and lead generation, it's, you want to put more butts in the seats, plain and simple. And biggest hole in my eyes in every practice staff just is not built big enough or fast enough to respond and to automate and to keep in touch with people. They're just not. They're focused on they're there. They have a lot of things on their plate and they just can't multitask and do so many things at once. So from a marketing perspective, automation and using AI is key to a practice bringing in new patients.
I don't know if you have this feeling. This is something that I struggle with as I try to make EasyRx more efficient. Is I'm in this FOMO almost with AI,
right?
In that I'm like, am I doing enough with AI? What else should I be doing with AI? Because it's like so in your face right now. And I'm like going, I mean, what can we do in our CRM to take advantage of AI, or what can we do in our marketing follow-up?
Right.
But there's just, you almost feel this pressure to implement AI right now because it's so,
exactly.
in our face, and we're all trying to figure it out. We're all trying to figure it out because it can really do some cool stuff.
No doubt.
I mean, it is real. I mean, AI is real for sure.
100%. It's been around forever, but it's just now finally getting to the masses and being used for, everybody.
Everybody.
Everybody, and for every industry across the board. So let's talk a little bit about orthodontic dental world and efficiency. So give me a quick background about EasyRx. What was the aha moment there where you realized this is something that's needed?
Yeah. So kind of the story of EasyRx is it was originally developed by a lab in Buffalo, ODL Lab, which is one of the players in the space. And they really built EasyRx to help them manage their lab better. And they wanted to start receiving their cases digitally instead of PDFs and faxes and emails.
Right.
So they wrote EasyRx, and then they started trying to sell EasyRx to other labs. So it was really a lab-focused solution. And myself and my business partner, Dr. Marc Lemchen, who Marc was the original founder of Dolphin, and we had sold Dolphin to Patterson in 2008. I was a principal at Dolphin with Marc, and we were looking for the next thing, and Marc implemented EasyRx at his practice because he was sending cases up to ODL.
Right.
And so we started looking at it, and we reached out to ODL, and they were a lab trying to do software, so they were kind of looking to get out of software, and we were looking to get into software. So we did a deal and acquired it from ODL, and kind of the aha moment was we really thought that the practice-facing solution could really benefit practices. And we just really saw a need for practices struggling to manage their lab prescriptions. Everyone had a manual system, and they're kind of just throwing staff at it to track their cases. And so we went into the deal planning to kind of make it a practice-focused solution because we really saw the need for that. And, intraoral scanning was, this was like 16 time frame, 2016. And intraoral scanning was growing in popularity. 3D printing was in the early stages. And we just felt like there was this need for this platform to connect everything.
Right.
And maybe the aha moment was we flipped the model. We started selling to practices. Before ODL was giving it to practices, we started selling to practices and saying, hey, you need to pay for this or some benefits. And we started getting traction.
Right.
And people were like, hey, I've never paid for this, but man, it really helps our practice. We love it. And, it started ticking up from there.
Okay. So in your journey there, and you go into a practice and explain to them about, the program that's there and the automation and efficiency there, what has been the biggest hurdle that you're facing for them to come aboard? Because, in my eyes, it is adapting. Everybody's afraid of change, no matter
everybody's
what. So, and, people, especially in orthodontics, this is, to make a change in this industry is so hard to do. People, it's old school, and, things don't change much, but they do change. As much as they don't change, they change. So what has been the biggest hurdle for practice coming aboard, and what is also, on the flip side, what has been the biggest opener for them to say, wow, I need this?
Yeah, good question. You touched on the biggest hurdle, and that is resistance to change.
Right.
Since the very first orthodontic practice opened, 100 years ago or whatever, they've had to send a prescription out to get an appliance made for a patient. So we're not a new workflow, or the workflow isn't new, but probably since the beginning, they've always, the only way to track this was obviously a manual system. There was no way to automatically through software, track their lab prescriptions. And so everyone had their manual system. And so they were like, oh, our manual system works fine, is, the common objection.
Right.
It's usually not a feature. It's what we have is works fine. Probably the door opener for us, or the reason we've been successful, is we're really the first to market to focus on a practice-facing lab prescription solution. And you don't know how many times we've done a demo and whoever handles lab prescriptions is like, you don't know how much we need this. Mm-hmm. Because to the doctor, they say, hey, we need a retainer for this patient back by next Tuesday. And to the doctor, it's easy. But there's someone who has to go manually submit that case out to the lab. They've got to manually follow up with the lab. And if they do business with multiple labs, it's like 3 portals to log into or 3, emails to send. And we put all of that inside of EasyRx. Yeah. So just like they've automated their schedule with their practice management or their treatment card, or, sending out statements or invoicing or billing or whatever, we're like that solution, in that now they have one software that they log into to see what's going on. And the fact that we consolidate everything into one app really is the reason people have adapted to it. And it's easy. I mean, the name's EasyRx. It's super simple to use, runs in the browser. And then, we add on top of that, we integrate with intraoral scanners to make it easy to get the STLs over to the lab. We integrate with 3D printers to facilitate 3D printing. So we built on the, on the top of the core app, the additional features. But really, we solved that problem of manually tracking lab prescriptions is a real headache.
Right.
And once they kind of get over we've always done it this way, we're a solution that can really help them.
So now I'm going to have to ask you to put on your super fantastic future wearing glasses. All right. Mm-hmm. It's great to have a pair of these. I got a pair in my pocket as well, and it's great to have them. So what are you seeing in the next 24 months in the dental orthodontic world as far as technology, trends, et cetera? Where do you see us in 2025?
A couple of years ago, I wrote an article about the practice in a little longer time frame. What do practices look like in 10 years and 15 years?
Right.
And so to back that up, in a couple of years, there are some trends we're seeing, and I'll speak to what we're seeing with EasyRx. I can't talk about what's coming with brackets or what have you. But in the lab prescription workflow world, right now the trends we're seeing, we're seeing more intraoral scanners come into the market, and we're integrating with those scanners. So I think practices will have more choices of intraoral scanners.
Right.
3D printing almost is a standard of care now, in that it's almost becoming part of what you have to have for your in-house lab. That will only continue. 3D printing will become just like having anything in the in-house lab that they've had for 15 or 20 years, sterilization or what have you.
Okay.
Tied or related to that, right now what's going into practices is resin 3D printers.
Right.
Kind of the next thing that's coming is metal 3D printing. You're seeing this more on the commercial lab side now, where they print the framework and they put a screw in and they make the appliance, and faster, it's going to fit better. And I think you'll probably see more practices starting to adopt metal 3D printing that have the more sophisticated in-house lab. And so if you think longer term than that, in that article I wrote a couple of years ago, I think the in-house lab at the practice continues to become more and more sophisticated, and the practice makes more and more stuff in-house. You're seeing it with in-house aligners now.
Right.
I think that trend continues. We're seeing aligner trimming machines going into practices now. For the practices that are doing a lot of retainers or making in-house aligners, we're seeing those trimming machines go in. And then probably the other trend that we're excited about, you're going to see more robots going into practices. So I think in 25, you'll see more robots. And I'm not necessarily talking treatment robots,
right?
But, to help the staff, I think you're going to see some robots and automation in the in-house lab and around the practice.
I agree. Automation is key. Using AI and using bots are important, as we know. In our automation suite that we have, a text bot is killing it. It's going great. With offices closed, the ability, you don't need a person now. Using technology, somebody will just ask a question, and through the AI will answer it and be able to get people to book without you having to do it anymore. It's incredible using that technology. So in closing, Todd, what would you say would be the number one bit of advice that you could give a practice in order to become more efficient next year that they could do right away?
I think, and this, everyone hears this, but it is so true. I run a small business. You run a small business. Practices are small to medium-sized business, businesses. And you have to look for, you have to challenge yourself to look for ways to get better and efficient. Right. And you have to be open to adopting these. And you have to get your staff mentally on board to adopt these changes.
Gotta.
And
it's hard to do. It's hard to do.
It's hard. It's easy to say. It's hard to do.
Right.
Especially when you've got and this could be the doctor, you've got a staff person that does great work, but maybe they're a little resistance to change. I mean, that's hard.
It sure is.
Everyone's got to, but you've got to adapt and change. There's many business stories out there where they didn't adapt and didn't change, and you just got to do it, and it keeps things interesting. It just keeps things fun, and
don't be afraid. Change. Change is good. And it's important to do. So it's good to have that there. All right. So I have two final questions for you. These are the two most important questions. Question number one. All right. What is Todd's favorite movie of all time?
Oh gosh, favorite movie of all time. Who doesn't love Shawshank Redemption?
Well played. Well played. Okay.
I bet that has come up before. And I love The Godfather.
Okay.
It's because I think it's a
classic.
It's such an acting is fabulous. So I'm good with that.
Those two. Listen, if you Google it, those are probably two of the top three in most people's books, or list there. So
I know. I'm sure. I'm sure you've heard those before.
I sure have, and I'm glad to hear it because well played on that. And then finally, if what is your go-to as far as just being educated or keep up to date with technologies or trends to keep your mind fresh? Do you have a particular podcast besides this one, obviously, you listen to, or do you have a book or newsletter or something that just is your go-to to keep up to date or to just refresh yourself? Like, for example, I still have on my nightstand book that I've been reading for 30 some odd years. How to Win Friends and Influence People is just as important now as it was in 1940 something when it was came out. So do you have a particular go-to that just keeps you fresh, that keeps you motivated, that helps you, move forward every day?
I read lots of stuff, so I don't know if I have a specific go-to. I read fiction, nonfiction. Right. But I day to day, I tell you something I scroll through. It's a site called Flipboard.
Okay.
And you can pick kind of your interests. And it's just like scroll, and if there's something interesting, you can go read the article.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And so I go through just to stay current on, whatever. And you could, again, pick your favorites.
Good. I appreciate it. Good.
Yeah, I mean that's something simple. That's not like Win Friends and Influence People. That's more like So you can pick AI, technology, and, productivity, and it kind of just throws articles at you, and then you jump on an article and
it's good.
Go read it.
So in closing, if thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it.
Thank
and
you.
if somebody wants to, obviously all the notes and your links will be below, on the show notes here. But if somebody does want to has any questions, wants to reach out to you, what's the best way for them to do so?
Yeah, my cell phone's all over the place. It's give my cell 404-441-0002.
All right.
Text or Todd at EasyRxCloud.com.
All right, perfect, great. Well, Todd B, thanks so much for joining, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
This was great, guys. It's very important, as I mentioned many times, to adapt, to be efficient. If you don't, you're going to be left behind. So, as I mentioned many times, according to the great Billy Beane, and if you didn't read Moneyball or watch the movie Moneyball, watch it, because it's and especially if you're a sports fan, because it talks about life and business and adapting, adapt or die, and
adapt or die,
and do it. So Todd, thanks so much for joining. I appreciate it. Everybody in Podcast Land, thanks so much for listening. Once again, follow us at Ortho Marketing on all our social media. We always love to hear feedback from everybody. We always love to get more guests. If anybody else out there think it might be a great opportunity for a guest for us, we'd love to have you join us. So please reach out to me, Dean at orthomarketing.com. And again, if any practice out there is looking for help with their marketing, you can always reach out to us as well at orthomarketing.com. So Todd, thanks so much for joining us. Everybody in Podcast Land, be healthy, keep smiling, and change. Okay. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
OrthoMarketing.com. 360-degree digital marketing solutions for your practice.